Okay, so I'm recording to the cloud for Nanette, so I'm going to just go ahead and start reading. And hopefully it won't be too disruptive when Ann Lors comes back in. So we're on page 75, conversation number 11, question number 2, one person's thoughts. The second of the 7 simple questions always seems rhetorical to me. Humanity's intelligent response to the question can only be yes. I mean, if the response genuinely, truly, and really is no, then human beings are in much more trouble than any of us thought. Question number 2. I'm going to turn my video off. There. Okay. Question number 2. Is it possible that there is something we don't fully understand about God and about life, the understanding of which would change everything? Of course it's possible, and it's what is so. To declare that we understand everything about God and life is sheer folly. Clearly, there is an information gap here. Clearly, all the data is not in. Yet some people believe that we have all the information we need to live a complete and fruitful life. It's found in the Holy Scriptures. Yet which Holy Scriptures? Which book contains the one and only true Word of God? Well, now that depends on to whom one is speaking. Many say the New Testament. Others say no, God's Word is found in the Hebrew Bible. Others say no, his word is found in the Quran. Others say no, it's in the Torah. Others say no, it's in the Mishnah. Others say the Talmud. Others say the Bhagavad Gita. Others say Rig Veda. Others say the Brahmins. Others say the I can never do this word. Whatever. It's Upanishads. Others, the Mahabharata or the Ramanya, the Puranas, the Tantras, the Tao Te Ching, the Buddha Dharma, the Dhammapada, the Master of Huanan, the Shichi, the Pali Canon, the Book of Mormon. Well, the point is, many people believe that direct revelations, that is God speaking directly to man, is found in the Holy Scriptures with which they feel most comfortable. This makes it a little bit difficult for humans to find out what it is they may not fully understand about God and about life, because the words found in books other than those in our own spiritual tradition are considered to be inaccurate. And books such as Conversations with God, well, now you're talking blasphemy. You see, the world's religions agree wholeheartedly that God speaks directly to human beings. After all, God spoke directly to the human beings who were considered to be the source of those religions. Moses, Jesus, Muhammad, Bala, John Smith, etc. And they also agree, whatever other differences exist between them, that God has not spoken directly to human beings lately. Is it possible that there is something we don't fully understand about God and life, the understanding of which would change everything? Since speaking directly to the source of their religion, the faithful declare God has come down with a very bad case of celestial laryngitis. No more speaking directly to humans is being done. So there's a rule of thumb. If it's an old book, produced from the inspiration of God as given to man hundreds or thousands of years ago, there's at least a chance that it may be true. If it's a new book produced from the inspirations of God given to humanity today, there's no chance in heaven that it's anything but blasphemy. Old is good, old is God, bad is bad, new is bad, new is blasphemy. Got it? what we don't know. Still, none of this is problematical, right? Because we know all that we need to know, yes? We know enough to be able to create the collective and the individual life of which humanity has long dreamed, do we not? No, we do not. There is still something we do not fully understand, the understanding of which would change everything. When I was a young man, there was a saying, what you don't know won't hurt you. Today, it is exactly the opposite. What you don't know will hurt you. What we don't know about God and about life is plentiful, and it's killing us. We don't understand who and what God is. We don't understand God's desire, even though every religion says it does. We don't understand how God functions or interacts with the world, if indeed God does. And we don't understand our true relationship with God. Why does God say yes to some people and no to others? Why does God say no today to the people he said yes to yesterday? Why does God allow bad things to happen to good people? Why does God? Why? While the world's religions have sought genuinely to bring us much insight as possible on the one hand, it has regretfully stifled continued questioning and exploration on the other. There's something missing here. There's obviously some data missing. And so, if we do not accept the now centuries-old answers we've been given, and we should not, look at where they've gotten us, we're pretty much left to our own devices as we seek to know God more fully and to experience life more peacefully, harmoniously, and happily. There's something missing here. There's obviously some data missing. But it takes much courage to admit even that, much less to offer some suggestions on what the missing data may be. That question has effectively been closed for most religions, and therefore, by extension, for most of humanity. Not for all of it, mind you, but for most of it. So here is the irony. While a very large number of people would readily admit that we don't, on this earth, fully understand God and life, the pursuit of newer understandings is deeply discouraged, if not roundly denounced. And to most people, the idea that one person or two, a small collection or small group here or there, may in fact have come to discover something more or new, is a complete anathema, completely, totally unacceptable. We will not be one-upped by anyone, even if it puts all of us one down. What we don't know. And it's not just all the stuff around God that we don't understand. We don't know half of what we need to truly understand life itself, exclusive of the experience of our various deities. We don't understand even the rudimentary elements or functions of life energy. We simply don't know how it works. We don't understand the magnetic qualities of attraction. We don't understand the power of fear. We do not and cannot seem to get a hold of the miracle of love. I mean true love, unconditional love. We insist that if something can't be measured, analyzed, tested, and proven by scientific measures, it doesn't exist. We therefore eliminate from our own good use anything and everything having to do with extrasensory perception, mind fields, creative imagery, psychic insight, dream work, positive thinking, or any other non-measurable, inexplicable phenomenon. Let me give you just one tiny example of what I'm talking about. Let us say that you experience yourself wanting something desperately. Did you know that if you keep saying to yourself, I want that, that you are announcing to the universe that you do not have it now, and that this announcement produces your continuing reality? As long as you hold such a thought, you cannot have what you want, because you cannot have, on the one hand, what you are confirming, on the other hand, you do not. The point: your word has creative power. For instance, the statement, "I want more money," may not draw money to you, but may actually push it away. This is because the universe has only one response in its vocabulary: yes. It listens to you very carefully, and it listens most of all to what you are feeling. The opening book in Conversations with God series says that feeling is the language of the soul. If you constantly say, "I want more money," and the universe feels your feeling around that, and it is a feeling of lack, this is what the universe will respond to. The engine of creation is actually a magnet. Okay. It says it's still recording. I just got a message on the screen that said I'd been signed out, but I look to still be here. So I'm going to keep going. The engine of creation is actually a magnet. We are talking about power here, the power of a magnet. Remember that a feeling is energy, and in the matter of energy, like attracts like. So the universe will say yes, and you will continue wanting more money. If you think, "I want more love in my life," the universe will say yes, and you will continue wanting more love in your life. And using the energy of life, the word "I" is the ignition key of creation. What follows the word "I" turns the key and starts the engine of manifestation. Thus, when it looks as if personal creation is not working, it is only because the energy of attraction has brought you what you inadvertently selected rather than what you thought you chose. This is what is going on all over the world right now. This is what has caused the storm before the calm. The engine of creation is actually a magnet. The power of life's energy is always on. If it were not, if the process was not always working, you could have a single very positive thought about something, and that outcome would be made manifest in your reality without fail. But the process works all the time, not just part of the time, and is fed by that which you feel most deeply, most consistently. So a single very positive thought in a whirlwind of not so positive ideas and projections is not likely to produce the desired result. The trick is to stay positive in a sea of negativity. The trick is to know that the process is working even when it looks as if it's not. That is what we're talking about right here in this conversation. That is what will turn this storm front around. Yet much to our loss, humanity dismisses some of the most important and powerful aspects of life, such as how to understand and utilize life's energies. I have given you just one example above. So is there something we do not understand about God and about life? Of course there is. Would it change everything if we understood it? Of course it would. Does it make complete and total sense for humanity to have a conversation about this? Of course it does. Points I hope you'll remember. There is an information gap between what we know and what we need to know about God and life. That information gap is huge. It is not small. If we begin to close this gap, it would change everything. Action I hope you will take. Make a list. Yes, an actual list of things I know about God. See how this lines up with what you were taught as a child or came to understand through the common culture. Make a list, yes, an actual list of the things I know about life. See how this lines up with what you were taught as a child or came to understand through the common culture. Learn all you can about the energy of life and how it works. Promise yourself to actually make a study of it in the next year. 12 months from today, add this to your discussion with others about the 7 simple questions. End of chapter.
Well, I'm here and I just now got here, so I'm going to let you run the conversation, Linda. And what chapter were we on?
It was conversation number 11 is what we just read.
Thank you.
Anybody have anything they want to share?
I've been thinking about things. What I feel, well, I only know my own religion. Well, I don't even know my own religion really, you know, but the bits I know, right? I mean, basically I'm brought up a Catholic, so I'm Christian religion, and I just know bits about other religions, but I don't really know anything about anything really. But yesterday I was kind of, somebody was showing us pictures he'd done when he was an artist. And one of the pictures was him climbing out of a trash can naked, just from, you see his bottom, just the back. And I was thinking today about that, and I was thinking, gosh, you know, I wonder what he was saying with that. So then I was thinking, oh, the body was put, the physical body's been put in the trash can. And you see, so this made me start to think a lot about things. And then, like, you know, so my religion, so like, you know, the Christian religion, you know, sexuality, anything like that, that's really like bad news, you know, sort of a lot of negative things around, like that probably just, that is just part of nature and should be thought of as a whole because the body's being put in the trash can. So that got me sort of thinking a lot of religions have turned what is natural into a kind of a something to feel challenged by. That's part of it. And then that there are 3 brains, you know, there's all the digestive system, and there's all around the heart, and that the wisdom comes through the heart. And if we're disembodied because the body's been put in the trash can, and we're just using the top bit, we're obviously disconnected from any wisdom. So yeah, they're my thoughts. Okay, I stop now.
Yeah, I think what that brings up for me is this notion that it's like humanity through these religions in our striving to be spiritual have basically tossed the body into the trash can, like you're talking about, like made a division between spirituality and the physical. And I think a lot of that feeling of denial, I've talked about this in the past, that we're part of nature, You know, we think that humans are somehow separate from nature, and like our body isn't an animal body like all the other physical life forms, you know. It's like we're part of that. And the denial that we are part of that is where a lot of dysfunctional behaviors come from. And that's part of it, denying at the very basic core the human body, the needs of it, the wants of it, and the whole thing about sex, which, you know, life comes from sex. Like it's a basic, the basic creative act for humanity. And the judgment attached to all of that, which probably also has to do with the misogynistic aspect of things, because women give birth and men, you know, in the past have found it challenging to grapple with the fact that women are the bearers of life. I think I lost my point, but that's what I had to say. Thank you.
Well, one thing that I can tell you, because I've wrote a whole chapter on religion in the book that I've written, called Deconstructing Religion, is that it doesn't matter what major religion you start with. If you trace it back to its origin, you'll end up in the exact same place. All major religions trace back to the same message, and it's a message of love. So how, and, you know, in my book, and I don't have a copy handy to look, but, and I don't remember off the top of my head, but there are new religions being made every day, multiple religions every day. There's somebody out there thinking they're the new Messiah and starting a new religion. So it's really interesting that if all the, you know, if all the original religions all started out preaching the message of love, how in the world did we get where we are today? Right? Like all the wheels have fallen off.
Linda, I've got your book right here.
Uh-huh. You're amazing.
I am, thank you. So where's the chapter? I can dig it up immediately.
It's the chapter on religion. It's called Deconstructing Religion, I think.
Okay, I'm going to look it up and read it to you, but I just have something to say to Anne about her friend who was coming out of the garbage bag. I found it. I'm sorry, I was thinking of bags because that's what I'm doing. It's page 129, I'll get there. My new project, Anne, is simply to rewrite every story from a highly optimistic and entirely opposite, like I just choose to see the other end of the spectrum. So if I saw his cute little bum coming out of the, you know, the, what's it called? It has a name. My blood sugar, you know, the dumpster, right? I would say that your Anne's friend has decided that he is making a statement against Catholicism's degradation of the body. And this is a representation of his absolute denial of the body belonging in the garbage dump. And I'm saying that as a Muslim because the monotheistic religions are nuts. I mean, the monotheistic religions are lovely, and they can be lovelier.
Well put.
Thank you. Okay, Linda, I'm on page 129. I haven't got my bifocals, so just tell me where I'm going.
I don't know. I don't have it in front of me. I would have to have it in front of me to be able to tell you. Somewhere in there, I have the statistic of how many new religions are being, created on average. I would think it would be fairly in the beginning of that chapter, but.
Okay, I'm looking for it.
Oops.
Go ahead, Anna.
I started to think of something else. You know that the religions, although they preach love, they've disconnected the physical expression, of the ability to pollinate, the ability to procreate. They've disconnected the body from love. So that's like, I think Shabana's book on looking at the other side of things is excellent. That's that's shocking, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's like as if your body, when it's engaged in a loving act, is not loving at all. It's in the trash can. It's interesting.
The denial. The other thing that makes me think of is this notion that God is love. I mean, I know that it was there in the religion. I was also raised Catholic. And, I know I had heard that idea, but the God that religion portrayed to me most of the time did not feel like a loving God. I did not grow up really feeling in my body like God is love. It was like God was that angry old man in a cloud who was going to punish me for every infraction, and, going to confession and thinking of my sins to tell to the priest, I told a lie or something. It was kind of the opposite of God is love, right? And I remember as a grown-up at a certain point thinking, the only sin in my mind is unlove, like unloving action and thoughts. Because if God is love, and I sort of have come to my own understanding that everything is love, God is love, God created the whole, so everything is made from the God stuff, which is love, and then the only thing that could be a sin would be like going against love, right? Which ultimately, if everything is love, I'm not sure that's even possible. But like, yeah, as Linda said, the wheels have really fallen off, because even though that idea that God is love is still there in the religion, there's so much other crap in there also, that reality of God being love has been totally lost, I think, in terms of most people's experience of many of those at least monotheistic religions. And I can't really speak about other things, but certainly in Christianity, and I mean, anyway, othering. There's so much othering,
Lovely. Mary, you're quite right. I've got something to illustrate your point because I dug it up. Unfortunately, Linda only talks about Christianity, but it says it is estimated that a new denomination is formed every 10.5 hours, or 2.3 denominations per day. Mind-boggling, isn't it? That's what Linda says in her book on page 141. So, but she's only talking about Christianity. And
in those numbers, I'm talking, the whole chapter goes through everything, but yeah, and there aren't any, I couldn't find any statistics for other religion, and so I don't know, are there other Muslims that are out there coming up with their own religion, or is it just Christians that seem to think that that there's new messiahs every other day? I mean, I don't know.
Well, I like Muslims love to hate each other. They just love it. So we should add to that.
Can I say anything, Bob Larrick? I'm sorry to get here late. I was just reading, by the way, Society Without God, second edition by Phil Zuckerman. But thank you for discussing these things and your honesty, and I agree with you completely. Actually, every religious head, and these are I think, the most important issues in the world, which we also often can't discuss. I've been working on them at the UN. Muslim religions, there's a reason there's a genocide going on in Syria. Don't agree. My wife, I have an interfaith marriage. My wife's Catholic. And it's all religions, Christianity, Judaism. How do we understand reality, God, and each other, and the idea of which are things I worked on at Wainwright House also. The idea of how do we understand them, Course in Miracles, actually. The issue of God's Holy Spirit, our holiness and potential, and the idea of seeing God as a sentient being and creative determinant force, and the importance of the Ten Commandments from an interfaith discussion I was just with recently, and the importance of human rights and responsibilities, and even from the fear that you were just discussing about the need to perfect monotheism, really, is things I've worked on, and the issue of not making war against our bodies, being more consistent and ethically rational, humanistic. How do we get there consistently, recognizing our body and spiritual, emotional realities? And don't we need to work together better, rather than just saying our bodies are the cause of our own sin, which you were just talking about in Catholicism and others, blaming it on women all too often. And the issues of power and control, and don't we need to put a supremacy in greater truths, plural understanding and wisdom, and working together better to get better in touch with our better natures, including, as you bring up, our Holy Spirit of goodness, or God. I believe the creator of the natural systems, life, and us. It doesn't mean that Darwin was completely wrong. There was no evolution, but science changes. Also, if that's truly scientific. And we really need better strategies for more win-win success and God's help. And we need to evolve the human condition and our spiritual conditions to a more ethical, rational, humanistic, religious, and human state, which I think are things that you bring up also, and thank you for your courage. And I'm still bringing that up, your issues also, which I believe is what you're saying, at the UN, which is not perfect, but it's the idea of peace. How do we get there? How do we transcend our overly, they don't say this, but overly cutthroat competition, nationalism, religious, etc., human, to a more peaceful reality, and socioeconomic reality also, not just making our spirit holy and forgetting about the body, which is a problem all too often in religions. Also, so we should work on these together at the UN and support there's a Better World Foundation. They have trouble talking about these things. Who is it? Alison Van Dyke of Temple of Understanding works on those things also. But the nation states feel that they know better, and the religion, secularism, just complicates things. This is not, and they want the power and control. They don't want to be, but they're not doing so well, are they? As you bring up either. So why not work together with government rather than making war on government, which is a current issue in our Republican Trumpist party, and caring about our people and caring about God and working together better, which I think you bring up. And thank you for your discussion on tomorrow's God. Isn't that the type of God we need before the climate change, nuclear age. Is another book about the precipice of our existence. Also, I just saw a minute ago. So we need to certainly work together. Tomorrow's God, our greatest spiritual challenge. Is that you? Neil Donald Walsh, that's you guys also. So the need to, and the racial issues, the supremacy issues.
We read that book before this one.
I'm sorry if I spoke too much.
No, we read Tomorrow's God before this book.
Okay.
Just FYI.
Okay.
Just I want to say something. You see, the people who are taking control of all these thinkings are up in their heads. They're not in their bodies. And we have to get back in our bodies, and otherwise no sense is coming out of us. And also, the more the disconnection from our bodies disconnects us from other people as well. We start seeing people as black and white and brown and yellow, and like they're different, like as if another species. This is another species over here. What kind of rubbish is this? Because God is within us. The God within us. We don't even know our own divine nature, because we are out of touch with it, because the feelings are not coming up from here. The feelings come through our bodies. That's it.
Yes, I was thinking that same thing, Anne. So thank you for saying that. That's part of the disconnection from our bodies, is part of where the lack of empathy and understanding towards other humans in their physical bodies, comes into it. Thank you.
I just wanted to add something. United Nations, and I think it was in 2010 that we went to the United Nations, and Anwar Chowdhury, I can't remember his title, but it has to do with peace and people getting along. And we presented 50,000 signatures of people agreeing with Humanities Team's statement of oneness, and that we're all one. And if we could totally understand that, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. Because if we realize that the guy that's got a flat tire, or the other person that's being violent over in Portland, or whatever the situation is, we have to accept all these people into our hearts, because they're not just those people. They're part of us. And when I was raised Catholic too, but as I've mentioned before on this call, I was pretty lucky because my parents were, though they were, my mother was conservative politically, but as far as the church was, can everybody go on mute if you're not talking? So one of the things that I think is really amazing is that and its trash can analogy is I was 7 years old, and Sister Frances Margaret caught me kissing this kid named Gregory Peccary. And I was put in the coat room, and I had to sit in a trash can. And you can only imagine my little legs, my feet weren't hitting the floor. And I remember thinking she was just the B word, but I didn't say that, of course. And Sister Frances Margaret, forgot that I was in there, and they locked up the room and everything. And then when the janitor came back like an hour later, after everybody had gone home, the janitor said, "Well, what are you doing in there? And who would put such a sweet little girl like you in a trash can?" And so he took care of that. Then my mother was called to come get me. And when she found out what was going on, this is not the way she would have described it, but this is the way I describe her. She was a cafeteria Catholic. Some things she liked, some things were okay. Other things were, I forgot what I was saying because somebody interrupted me with the big sign now on my door that says "Don't interrupt." But anyway, I had this. She was all over this nun's. She was all over the nun, and so I was brought up in this way, where when something didn't match what was in my family's belief system, my parents spoke up. Over.
I'm glad they spoke up, if I can say anything. I'd worked with a Catholic U.S. bishops on the idea of reconciling within Catholicism. They couldn't agree either. The conservative orientations and the more liberal. My wife had similar experiences of humiliation. How do we, conservative orientation, how do we perfect the children, spare the rod, spoil the children, harsh accountability, punishment. I don't share those beliefs. Modern society has learned that humans are different than horses or animals, blacks are not animals. Then we need to work together for a more consistent, humanistic and loving religious, Catholic, religious, Christian, Jewish, Muslim, and religious and human state. And I think those are some of the things you're talking about. So,
I think it's Nanette, judgment so now judgment, I've decided, for myself, I start noticing if I'm judging and I stop it. So I'm stopping that nonsense. I'm stopping judging myself or anybody else. And this is a practice I'm doing. And I feel we need to start, it's important, because being brought up in the Catholic Church, there was so much that is judged as wrong. I feel like the guilt is huge. I feel guilty. They've already judged me. I've done it all wrong again. That's like the story. And I thought, I'm giving up this judgment business. This is not. How much longer are we going to be here for? Even this virus may turn out to be of great value in bringing us to realize we are part of nature. We're full of viruses, and we need to transform our density. And our density is created by suppressed emotions that happen because of all the judgments that are being made, which are blocking us and turning us into dense human beings where viruses love, the virus, it's poisoned. Instead of divine, we're poisoned for the amount of emotional heaviness due to all the judgment. That's what I've got to say. Thank you.
Thank you for saying that. I tell my wife all the time, from her Catholic upbringing, judgmental. It's also part of a mental health, this General Semantics Institute for Human Relations. And we should be more humanistic and listen more and judge less and understand more. They have trouble with spirituality, but others recognize our spiritual, emotional realities and the need to move ahead more.
Can I change
with a greater consciousness?
Can I add something?
Please.
Yeah, because this is a subject that has been in my life since I was a kid. My mother was Christian, but I was having very deep experiences of being one with everything and so on. So then when I studied and understood that identifying with bodies. To identify with the body makes a separation, but to feel the body and be this divine source inside our body, to be connected to source, that is oneness for me. And when we are connected, and I found a research project at the university when I studied, that they have researched people who had these mystical experiences in different cultures, different religions, and they could understand each other even if they were in different places, in different religions. But if people who hadn't had this experience of being connected to the source couldn't experience it, had it more in the head or somewhere. So I think we are on the way, because these books, Conversation with God, take us, it's mirror this journey to experience this energy, that we are it and everyone else is it. And at such a situation, all religions in the depth are aiming for that state. But on the surface, they are different and quarrel and or deny each other and so on. But as human in this area of our time we are living in, for me, it's absolutely necessary to validate and open up to that experience. And I meet many young people today who needs to have somebody to talk to about these experiences. So as I am an elder, they come to me and I can understand it because I experienced it when I was young. And they don't know where to go with it, because it can be very, very strong inside to have this experience. But I respect that deeply, that beyond bodies, even if we have bodies, beyond bodies, we are connected to this. And as human beings, different from animals, we can be conscious about it. And then we cannot hurt each other or deny each other. That's my heart connection. That's how I feel that life.
Thank you for your work and your being, and the issue, even with in relation to this, to give a little more hope. I was at a UN meeting with some of the diplomats just recently, and they were saying that COVID actually will make us perhaps more reflective. It gives us more time. They can't meet together personally as they normally do in New York. They have the General Assembly meetings coming up in September shortly. I think our president, I hate to say president, Trump is, I think, one of the few or only presidents will actually be there, which is another issue. But the issue of developing a greater spirit, the UN, it does have a meditation room. What you were speaking about is also the spirit of the Wainwright House Stag Hammarskjöld meditation room, which includes spirituality. And I remember being in the UN when you were talking about Chowdhury before, or maybe Net was. He was working on things I was working on, we were working on, the World Spirituality and Values Committee particularly. And it became down to actually it relates to these times also, the value of priorities, power, control, actually even our current politics as I see it, being in North Carolina's 9th District, which I just was on a program, being one of the hottest, most contentious and dirty, frankly, and whatever happened to our Civil War and Reconstruction politics and the dirty politics that seemed to be discreditation and work for Southern conservatives seems to be morphing. That's another issue. But don't we need a better politics, a better spirit than denial and blame from a mental health sickness, agreeing with Mary Trump? And don't we need to find ways of working together with our bodies and souls and not making war against ourselves or each other? Actually, I've been saying Gloria Steinem's Revolution from Within is not just for women, but for men also. And as Naomi Wolf, I think, quote is, can help transform or rescue a world in pain. And isn't that the spirit of all monotheism religions, or actually even from the Buddha force of goodness in Christ. How do we understand these things? There's an expression in this general semantics, mental health. Oh, for God's sake. The body, the word is not the territory, something like that. I apologize. Like Burma and Myanmar is, you call it different things, but it's the same thing. So the idea of God's Holy Spirit, how do we perfect these things from different perspectives? And because of different perspectives or systems of trying the human experiment, the American experiment, the democratic experiment, we need to find ways of working together in greater unity. Is the United States really unified? Is the United Nations really unified? And don't we need a spirit of oneness and an identity and character development that brings up a more consistent, ethical, rational, loving ourselves, loving our bodies, and not making war in the name of ideology, frankly, but a more compassionate and loving, spiritual, emotional state.
Thank you, Robert. I hate to cut it here, but
I'm sorry.
No worries. Shabana, do you want to do the closing meditation?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, God, for all the powerful work that Bima and Robert, Mary and Ann Lore, Ann Darby, Nanette, Linda, and William are doing. We're all here to love ourselves to begin with, because as Anne has just told us, our emotional trauma and the density it's caused is what's brought the virus to us. So we thank you now for this wonderful virus and for all the unloving, exclusionary, unkind, and othering attitudes of all the various leaders of all the various religions. Thank you that so many new sects are being formed every few hours. These are all powerful means for us to choose love and to choose life. So we're doing it together now, and we're thanking you for it. Amen. All done.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes.
Does anyone want to do any sound healing, or is that too late?
I think it's already 3 minutes after 1.
Okay.
Thank you very much. And what we should do next time is just end everything early so we can do the sound meditation.
That'd be great.
Is
That's
it-
great.
just want to say hi, and I really enjoyed today and all the comments, and this is pretty neat. Thank you. Yes.
Thank you, Em.
And take a look at my message to you on chat.
Okay. How do I get there?
I don't know, but you're gonna have to do it quickly because it's all gonna disappear.
Oh, well, do I go into participants? Why won't it?
There's
Okay.
a chat
Don't
box.
see anything on chat, no.
No. I'm sorry. I was talking to Anne Lore. But
Okay.
everyone go and buy
sorry.
Linda's book right away.
I already have it.
Okay. Oh, here
Buy
we
a
go.
second one, Mary.
Is it ready?
No.
No, buy 2 copies of the same one.
Thank you. I got it.
I have a whole box of Linda's book.
I have low ambition.
Thank you, everybody. And thank you, Shabana, for reminding us in the meditation that all of those things that cause us to react are really just another opportunity to choose love. I need that reminder sometimes, so thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. I think the virus heard too, so they won't be coming for you.
I hope that's true.
Yep. All righty, everybody. We'll see each other next week.
Yeah.
Love you all.
Love you all.
And sorry I was late. I had technical difficulties. It's my middle name right now. Nanette, technical difficulties, Kennedy.
Are you at home now, Nanette?
No, I will be in about 3 weeks.
Oh, thank
But I
God.
want to see your oxygen tubes.
They're there.
They're there.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But thanks for pointing it out to everybody who might not have noticed.
You're welcome. I didn't notice.
I know. Everybody who watches this recording, it's a figment of your imagination. All righty then. I love you all.
Love you
Love
too.
you all.
Talk next week.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.